Greetings. Today, as we are in the transit of the 37th gene key, I am contemplating tenderness. Although I don't have this gene key activated in my profile, it's actually an energy that I've been contemplating and hopefully embodying for a very long time. I remember being struck by a song lyric from Don Henley, which I'm going to share with you now, but I hope you will look up the song, The Heart of the Matter. So this particular verse is really profoundly beautiful. It reads, "These times are so uncertain. There's a yearning undefined. People filled with rage. We all need a little tenderness. How can love survive in such a graceless age? The trust and self-assurance that lead to happiness, they're the very things we kill, I guess. Pride and competition cannot fill these empty arms. And the work I put between us, it doesn't keep me warm." Really beautiful teaching in that. The first time I really heard these words, I was aware of the song, but about 15 years ago, I heard them in a new way, and it struck me really deeply. I even cried a little bit. I absolutely know the truth of this. In our heart of hearts, we all do. We all know that tenderness and kindness and gentleness is our natural way of being. We all know what it feels like to be in the aura of someone who is in the frequency of this tenderness and to be able to return that gift to the other. In contrast to that, it feels really bad to be mean or cruel or harsh. I can't stand it. So why do we do it? Why do we find ourselves in situations where we abandon tenderness and resort to meanness or cruelty? I think that's a really big question, and I think we could talk for years with examples and specific scenarios and things that lead us to depart from our tenderness and our kindness. But for the purposes of our conversation today, I'd like to put it to us that all of the reasons that we find ourselves being mean or cruel or filled with rage or hateful can be summed up, the source of that can be summed up in one statement: the acquiescence to fear and the denial of unity. I'm going to say that again. The acquiescence to fear and the denial of unity. It seems our experience here on this plane in the past age has been flavored by themes of separation, and we claim fear. We are programmed in ways that lead us to believe that we are separate and distinct from the environment around us, and from the people around us, and from the source of creation. From this space of fear and separation, it is pretty easy to understand why we are mean or harsh or cruel in certain circumstances. If you have a resource that I need, and you and I are separate, and you are withholding the resource, then we are at odds with one another, so it seems. Another equally vague but real example: if I believe, either consciously or subconsciously, that I am weak, that I have no personal power, no power of my own, and that I am disconnected from my source and from the source of all things, I may seek to find some way to control you and to control others, and to receive an investment of your energy into my field. I may seek to find power externally by manipulation and debasement of others. I can find all kinds of ways of justifying this kind of behavior in my mind, to make it okay that I have been cruel and mean. In this case, based upon the idea of separation and my claim of fear and powerlessness, I did what I had to do to preserve my sense of self, my life, my identity, and in doing that, I separate myself from others in my field, and they have suffered at my expense. So these are just really broad observations from my perspective, but I wanted to do that and maybe set the scene or give us a sense of how we find ourselves in these harsh energies. However, as we turn within and we begin to embrace our hearts, and each of us as we start living from our heart center and embracing the softer yin, feminine aspects of who we are, it becomes less and less possible for us to behave that way. As I suggested, tenderness is our natural way of being when we're living from the heart. So, heart-centered living means an awakening to unity consciousness. Heart-centered living, with your own internal core stability and a balance of yin and yang in your own being, means serving the collective with your unique gifts and giving from your heart unconditionally, because you can't not do that. Heart-centered living means a willingness to sacrifice your own lower desires and lower nature to something bigger than you, to a higher impulse. When one is living from the heart, you can only love and you can only be tender with yourself and others, because you begin to realize the bigger picture. You love your neighbor as yourself because you realize that your neighbor is you. You're not separate from anything. You're not separate from them, and they're not separate from you. You are them, and they are you. And this is a realization and a paradigm shift that will transform our plane. The transformation begins inside each of us. It's a beautiful, fascinating paradox that the path toward unity begins with sovereignty and individuation, but in my experience, that has proven itself to be true. I, for one, have a past history of being very, very cruel to myself. Mine has been a journey of self-transformation through opening my heart to myself and learning to fall in love with myself and all of the myriad aspects of myself, including the dark parts. There is nothing about you that the universal love cannot hold. So become soft and tender with yourself first and foremost, and the gift of your self-love will radiate into the field around you. Your tenderness with yourself will be realized by others. As you give yourself love, you're giving them love. And this will be a testament to the truth of our interconnectedness and unity. This energy of tenderness and universal love is so powerful and so strong. It's a force that can heal big collective wounds. Acquiescing to fear and acting out of a space of separation or fear or lack or anger or hatred will not heal the wounds that we are dealing with on this plane. Only love can heal the body of humanity and remind us that we're all citizens of one light. I want to close out this contemplation with one of my favorite scriptures. It's Ephesians 4:2 and 3. It says, "Be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love." While sometimes scriptures and other spiritual texts can feel directive or prescriptive, I'd put it to us that the more one turns within to realize the truth, the more these kinds of behaviors that are suggested by the scriptures become outpictured without effort. You just become tender. When you know the truth inside yourself, it's outpictured as humbleness and gentleness and patience and tenderness. There's just no other way to be. So, I think that's what I wanted to share for today about the theme of tenderness. This has been an absolutely unconventional, out-of-the-box contemplation. It doesn't follow any of the formats for anything that I've intended to do on this channel, and maybe you can expect more of this kind of, it's sort of just more free-form, loose. I think probably I've been holding myself too tightly to the structures that I initially set up. So anyway, I want to thank you for joining me for this, the 30th episode of the LightCast. I'm Jared Treadway, sending you love and light. Until next time, I'll see you then.